They notice everything: the shift in someone's tone, the silence behind a smile, the unspoken pain in a crowded room. The Sigma INFJ feels the emotional temperature of every moment, yet you'd never know it. While others react instantly, they absorb quietly. While others express, they process. To the world, they look composed, mysterious, even detached. But beneath that calm surface lies a storm of perception, intuition, and restraint. A mind that feels everything but refuses to show it. It's not that they're cold, it's that they've learned the hard way that most people don't know what to do with depth. The Sigma INFJ feels emotions in high definition, every detail, every ripple, but they've also learned that showing too much invites misunderstanding, exploitation, or rejection. So they turn inward. They observe, they translate chaos into meaning, pain into perspective, and silence into strength. Their stillness isn't absence, it's mastery. In this video, we'll explore the hidden psychology of why the Sigma INFJ feels so much, yet reveals so little, how emotional restraint becomes both their shield and their power, and why their quiet presence often carries more truth than 1,000 loud voices. If you've ever been the one who feels deeply but stays silent, this will feel like looking into a mirror. Subscribe to Brainy for more explorations into the INFJ and Sigma mind, and tell me in the comments, do you hide your emotions to protect yourself or because you know no one would truly understand them? The internal flood of awareness. Inside the Sigma INFJ, there's an invisible current, a constant flow of sensations, emotions, and insights that never really stops. It's like standing in the middle of a quiet storm, where every whisper, glance, and shift in energy carries meaning. While others see moments as ordinary, the Sigma INFJ feels layers beneath them. The tension in someone's laugh, the fatigue behind their smile, the sadness hidden in silence. It's not a choice, it's wiring. Their empathy is tuned so high that even the smallest vibration of emotion echoes through them like thunder in a still room. But because that awareness is relentless, it comes with a cost. Every environment, every interaction, every word feeds into a mind that never truly rests. They'll replay conversations hours later, noticing details no one else caught. The half-second pause, the change in tone, the subtle shift in body language that revealed more truth than words ever could. It's as if their intuition is always a step ahead of reality, processing what people mean before they've even said it. To outsiders, this looks like mystery, calm eyes, steady presence, unreadable emotions. But inside, the Sigma INFJ is absorbing everything. Their restraint isn't indifference, it's protection. If they reacted to everything they felt, they'd be emotionally exhausted before the day even began. So they build quiet boundaries, not walls, but filters, ways to contain the emotional flood without drowning in it. Sometimes they wish they could turn it off. The hyper-awareness, the endless empathy, the ability to feel emotions that aren't even theirs. But deep down, they know it's also their gift. That inner flood gives them insight others can't access, helping them understand people's motives, pain, and patterns with almost surgical precision. It's both a burden and a superpower, one that shapes the way they move through life, quietly, intentionally, and with emotional intelligence that feels almost otherworldly. So when the Sigma INFJ sits in silence, it's not emptiness you're seeing. It's restraint born from constant awareness. They don't need to speak to feel. They don't need to react to know. Their calm isn't a lack of emotion. It's the only way to survive a world they feel far more deeply than it will ever understand. Selective expression as emotional economy. The Sigma INFJ doesn't speak just to fill silence. Every word, every reaction, every emotional expression is chosen. It's not because they're detached, but because they understand the true cost of emotion. To them, feelings are energy, sacred, limited, and easily drained in a world that rarely knows how to handle depth. So, they've learned the art of emotional economy. They don't withhold emotion to appear strong. They conserve it because they know that not everyone deserves access to the rawness inside them. Their restraint is strategic, not cold. When they speak, it's intentional. When they react, it's meaningful. They know that giving emotion to the wrong person is like pouring water into a desert. It disappears, leaving them emptier than before. So they channel their feelings inward, processing quietly until they can express them in ways that matter, through action, creation, or reflection. They don't need to tell you how much they care. You'll see it in their consistency, in how deeply they listen, in how they remember things others forget. To outsiders, their calm composure can seem mysterious, even emotionally distant. But what people mistake for aloofness is actually mastery. The Sigma INFJ has likely lived through emotional exploitation, moments when their openness was misunderstood, mocked, or used against them. So now they practice emotional precision. They don't cry in public or shout in anger, not because they lack passion, but because they've learned that sacred feelings belong where they'll be safe, not where they'll be wasted. They understand something most people don't. Expression without intention loses power, and because they feel so deeply, they refuse to scatter their emotions carelessly. Their love is deliberate, their empathy is selective. Their silence isn't empty, it's how they store emotional energy for the moments that truly deserve it. Behind their quiet demeanor is a mind always calculating emotional value, asking, is this moment worth my vulnerability? Has this person earned my truth? When the answer is yes, they give themselves fully, and the connection that follows is magnetic, profound, unforgettable. But when it's no, they hold their peace, not as withdrawal, but as wisdom. Because for the Sigma INFJ, emotional restraint isn't detachment, it's discipline. The world may see it as mystery, but it's really the signature of someone who's learned that feelings are powerful only when shared with purpose. Overstimulation and the need for containment. For the Sigma INFJ, life can feel like standing beneath a waterfall of emotion, constant, unfiltered, and relentless. Every sound, every glance, every emotional vibration in the air hits them like a ripple through still water. They don't just hear what people say, they feel what they mean. They don't just enter a room, they absorb its energy. It's both beautiful and brutal, a sensitivity that makes them deeply empathetic yet perpetually overstimulated. The world doesn't realize how much they take in. A simple conversation might leave them emotionally drained because they've processed not just the words, but the tension behind them, the insecurities hiding in between, the unsaid truths floating beneath, crowds, noise, conflict. All of it amplifies until their mind becomes a storm of sensations. And when that happens, the Sigma INFJ doesn't explode outward, they implode inward. They retreat, they disappear, they need silence the way others need air. Containment isn't repression for them, it's survival. They've learned that the mind can only process so much before empathy turns into exhaustion. So they build invisible boundaries, a calm voice when they're overwhelmed, a neutral expression when emotions are too loud, a quiet exit instead of confrontation. To others, it might look like avoidance, but it's actually emotional regulation. The INFJ's way of restoring balance before they drown in the noise of the world. In solitude, their mind unravels what it has absorbed. They replay moments, filter emotions, and translate chaos into clarity. What felt overwhelming begins to make sense. The meaning behind someone's anger, the sadness hiding in their laughter, the wound beneath their arrogance. Their solitude becomes alchemy, turning emotional overload into understanding, overstimulation into insight. But make no mistake, containment doesn't mean numbness. The Sigma INFJ feels everything, just in private. Their stillness is not emptiness, but the sacred act of self-preservation. Because when you're wired to sense the world so deeply, silence isn't isolation, it's healing. So when they go quiet, don't assume they're cold or detached. It's their nervous system finding rhythm again. It's their heart setting down the weight of everyone else's emotions. In a world that demands constant reaction, their calm isn't distance. It's wisdom in motion. The private processing chamber. Inside every Sigma INFJ exists a hidden sanctuary, a quiet inner room where emotions go to be decoded, dissected, and transformed. To the outside world, it looks like withdrawal. To them, it's survival. This private mental chamber is where they sort through the noise of human experience, taking the raw chaos of emotion and refining it into meaning. Every word they didn't respond to, every look they didn't react to, every feeling they tucked away, it all ends up here, in that sacred mental space only they can access. When something shakes them emotionally, they don't lash out or cry on command. They vanish, not physically, but energetically. The INFJ's silence isn't avoidance, it's data collection. They replay events like film editors, frame by frame, searching for the truth beneath the moment. What did they really mean? Why did that hurt so much? What is this emotion trying to tell me? It's an intense, non-linear process, one that requires solitude and time. To the untrained eye, they seem cold or indifferent, but in reality, they're feeling everything, just not publicly. This private chamber is also where transformation happens. What others discard as pain, the Sigma INFJ refines into understanding. What others run from, they confront in stillness. They analyze the emotional blueprint of every experience until they extract wisdom from it, wisdom they'll later use to comfort, guide, or protect others. It's their secret laboratory for empathy, where every heartbreak becomes insight and every wound becomes instruction. But this gift comes with weight. Living in constant reflection can feel isolating, like being the only one who sees all the colors in a grayscale world. It's why INFJs often struggle to open that door for others. The chamber is sacred, too deep, too raw, too vulnerable to share with just anyone. When they do invite someone in, it's not casual, it's trust in its purest form. To love a Sigma INFJ is to understand that their silence is never empty. It's full of thought, emotion, and unseen healing. Their distance isn't rejection, it's reverence for the inner process that keeps them whole. Because for them, the mind isn't just a thinker, it's a sanctuary where feelings go to become wisdom. Empathy without exposure. The Sigma INFJ has an uncanny ability to feel someone's pain without revealing their own. They can stand beside a person drowning in emotion and somehow become the calm that keeps them afloat. Their empathy is precise, deep enough to connect, yet contained enough to stay grounded. They listen like healers and observe like psychologists, reading what people don't say louder than what they do. But what makes their empathy so rare is not its depth, it's the way they protect it. They give warmth without burning out, compassion without confession. They feel with you, not for you. This is the paradox that defines them. They connect deeply while remaining mysterious. You'll pour your heart out and they'll understand it better than you do, but when you try to look back into them, the door is closed. It's not coldness, it's boundary. The Sigma INFJ learned long ago that emotional transparency invites vulnerability, and vulnerability in the wrong hands becomes exploitation. So they mastered emotional discretion. They'll hold your pain like it's sacred, but they'll never hand you theirs unless they're sure you won't drop it. They understand emotions like languages, fluent in sorrow, fluent in silence, yet they rarely speak their own dialect aloud. Instead, they translate empathy into action. They'll comfort, guide, encourage, and understand, all without needing to be understood in return. Their empathy isn't performative, it's protective. It's the quiet kind that doesn't need recognition, because for them, connection isn't about being seen, it's about seeing. And still, there's a quiet ache behind that restraint, because while they help others unburden, their own emotions often remain untouched, collecting like hidden constellations in their chest. They rarely find people who can hold their depth without feeling overwhelmed by it, so they carry it alone, not out of pride, but out of peace, because exposing too much would mean losing the calm they give to others. The Sigma INFJ's empathy is their superpower, but it's also their solitude. They can read emotions like open books, yet guard their own pages like scripture. And in a world that confuses openness with authenticity, their greatest truth is this: you don't have to expose yourself to prove you care. Real empathy doesn't need an audience, it only needs presence. Stoicism, born from survival. The Sigma INFJ's calm isn't natural, it's forged. Behind that unshakable composure lies a history of emotional chaos they had to outgrow to survive. They weren't born stoic, they became stoic. Every quiet reaction, every steady breath, every unreadable expression is the product of lessons learned the hard way, that showing pain invites manipulation, that vulnerability can be weaponized, and that sometimes the safest way to feel is in silence. Their calm is not detachment, it's armor crafted from experience. In their younger years, the INFJ might have been more open, expressive, trusting, eager to share what they felt, but over time they noticed a pattern. The more honest they were about their emotions, the more people misunderstood or dismissed them. Their sensitivity was mistaken for weakness, their empathy for naivety, and so they learned to close the valve on their expression. Not to stop feeling, that was impossible, but to keep their emotions from becoming someone else's playground. Now, when the world burns around them, they don't flinch. They've learned to meet chaos with silence, not because they don't care, but because they know panic feeds the fire. When someone tries to provoke them, their stillness becomes disarming. When others rage, they analyze. When others collapse, they hold steady. This isn't emotional numbness, it's strategic control, the kind earned only by those who have felt too much and decided never to let emotion control them again. Their stoicism is not about pride, but preservation. It's how they maintain clarity in situations where others drown in noise. It's how they keep their intuition sharp, their empathy functional, and their energy intact. But make no mistake, the storm still lives inside them. It just doesn't show on the surface. Their restraint is mastery, not emptiness. And yet, there's something quietly tragic about it too, because the same control that protects them also isolates them. Few ever see the raw emotion behind that composure, the heart that once felt so deeply it had to build a fortress to stay alive. But that's the paradox of the Sigma INFJ. Their stillness isn't cold, it's sacred. It's the peace that comes after the fire, the discipline that only those who've survived themselves can truly understand. Calm as a control mechanism. To most people, calm looks effortless, a natural state of being, but for the Sigma INFJ, calm is crafted. It's not passivity, it's precision. It's how they regain control in a world that constantly tries to pull them into chaos. Beneath that composed surface lies a mind running at full speed, analyzing, sensing, predicting every possible emotional outcome before it happens. Their calm isn't denial, it's strategy. When emotions threaten to overflow, they choose stillness, the way a warrior chooses armor. They've learned that reacting too quickly gives others power. The more people see your emotions, the more they know where to strike. So the Sigma INFJ keeps their emotional cards close to their chest. When someone raises their voice, they lower theirs. When conflict flares, they pause. When others demand a reaction, they offer silence. It's not submission, it's control. Because in that stillness, they stay grounded while everyone else loses balance. Their calm becomes the quiet weapon that shifts the entire emotional dynamic of a room. What makes this control so remarkable is that it's not cold, it's conscious. They still feel everything, the anger, the sadness, the ache, but they process it internally, refusing to let it dictate their behavior. They understand that calm doesn't mean lack of feeling, it means mastery of feeling. They know emotions are energy, and energy can be directed, stored, or transformed. Their silence is where they transmute chaos into understanding, where pain becomes power. People often mistake this composure for emotional distance, but in truth, it's the opposite. Their calm is born from years of experiencing emotions too intensely, from being the emotional anchor in storms that weren't theirs to carry. It's the result of surviving 1,000 moments where losing control would have cost them too much. So when you see a Sigma INFJ standing silent amid conflict, don't assume they're disengaged. That calm you're witnessing isn't emptiness, it's discipline. It's the emotional precision of someone who's felt everything, learned from all of it, and decided that true power isn't found in reaction, but in restraint. The dual life of sensitivity and detachment. The Sigma INFJ lives in two emotional worlds at once, one deeply sensitive, the other fiercely detached. It's a paradox that few can understand. Inside, they feel everything with unbearable depth, the emotions of others, the weight of unspoken words, the invisible undercurrents of every room they enter. Yet outside, they project calm, control, and composure. It's not a mask, it's a mechanism. Because if they allowed the intensity of what they feel to flow unchecked, it would consume them. So they live in duality, a heart wide open and a face that gives nothing away. This balancing act wasn't learned from peace, but from pain. Somewhere along their journey, they discovered that sensitivity without boundaries becomes self-destruction. They once felt everything freely, but it left them depleted, misunderstood, and sometimes used. So they built detachment as a counterweight, not to stop feeling, but to survive feeling too much. Now their sensitivity gives them insight, while their detachment gives them strength. They can read the emotions in others without drowning in them, love deeply without losing themselves in it, and observe chaos without becoming part of it. Yet this duality creates an invisible loneliness. People often misinterpret their calm for indifference and their distance for apathy. Few see that detachment is their way of staying steady while the world pulls on their emotions from every direction. Inside, they're moved by the smallest details, a tone, a glance, a fleeting moment of truth, but outwardly they remain composed. It's how they protect the sanctity of their inner world from a society that mistakes emotional regulation for coldness. What most don't realize is that this combination, sensitivity with control, is what makes them quietly powerful. They can empathize without losing focus. They can feel heartbreak without breaking. They can love fiercely and still walk away when respect is gone. That's not emotional indifference, that's evolved empathy. The Sigma INFJ's dual life isn't a flaw, it's a form of balance that the emotionally reckless could never understand. They've mastered the art of being both ocean and shore, feeling the tide of emotion rise within them, yet remaining still enough to contain it. Because true strength isn't found in choosing between sensitivity and attachment, it's in learning how to live fully inside both. Transformation through observation. For the Sigma INFJ, observation isn't passive, it's transformation in motion. While others rush to speak, react, or defend, they watch. They notice the patterns that repeat, the emotions that linger, the motives that hide behind words. Every conversation, every experience, every heartbreak becomes raw data for growth. They don't just live through moments, they study them. To the untrained eye, their silence looks like detachment, but in truth, it's a deep form of emotional alchemy. They absorb, they reflect, and then they evolve. From a young age, they learned that awareness is protection. Watching before acting became their way of surviving in emotional chaos. When others fought or panicked, they observed what worked, what didn't, who stayed true, and who pretended. They started noticing the difference between people's intentions and their energy. Over time, that ability turned into a kind of quiet superpower, one that allows them to understand human nature without judgment. Observation became their teacher, and life became their classroom. When they're silent in a room, they're not disengaged. They're mapping the psychology of everything around them. They see the tension that others miss, the unspoken resentments that hang in the air, the subtle insecurities hiding beneath confidence. But what makes this so powerful is that they don't just observe others, they observe themselves. Every reaction, every emotional trigger becomes an opportunity to learn. They don't avoid pain, they analyze it, dismantle it, and rebuild themselves stronger because of it. This is why Sigma INFJs change so profoundly over time. They evolve through insight, not through chaos. Every person who betrays them becomes a lesson in trust. Every failure becomes a mirror of resilience. Every heartbreak becomes a blueprint for boundaries. They don't seek revenge, validation, or pity. They seek understanding. And that understanding slowly transforms them into something both grounded and wise. By the time people realize what the INFJ has become, it's too late to recognize who they once were, because their quiet observation has already turned pain into purpose and wounds into wisdom. That's the true power of their stillness. It doesn't mean they're unaffected. It means they're transforming in real time, silently upgrading from every experience life throws their way. Peace as the final language of feeling. For the Sigma INFJ, peace isn't the absence of emotion, it's what's left after mastering them. It's the final language of a soul that has felt too deeply, hurt too often, and learned that not every storm deserves a reaction. Their peace is not naive or passive, it's earned. It comes from surviving the emotional noise of life, the misunderstandings, the betrayals, the chaos, and realizing that nothing external is worth disturbing their inner equilibrium. They no longer need to prove their heart, defend their depth, or explain their silence. Peace has become their truest expression. Once they felt everything out loud, the full intensity of empathy, love, fear, and hope. But over time, they discovered that not everyone listens to emotion with the same sincerity they speak it. They watch people misuse honesty, exploit compassion, and run from vulnerability. So they stopped performing their feelings and started embodying them instead. Their peace isn't indifference, it's emotional fluency, the ability to feel without letting the feeling consume them. Now, when life tests them, they respond with calm, not because they're numb, but because they've transcended the need for reaction. When someone tries to provoke them, they choose stillness. When chaos surrounds them, they anchor in silence. Their peace isn't weakness, it's power under perfect control. They understand that emotion, like water, is strongest when still. That's the quiet dominance of the Sigma INFJ. They move through life with a serenity that unsettles those who thrive on control. But this peace doesn't mean they've stopped caring. In truth, they care more than ever, just differently. Their compassion has matured, their empathy has boundaries, their heart beats softer but steadier. They've realized that peace doesn't require retreat from the world, only from the need to be understood by it. So when you see their stillness, don't mistake it for emptiness. It's the final stage of emotional evolution, where love no longer screams, it radiates, where empathy no longer drains, it guides, and where pain no longer defines them, it refines them. For the Sigma INFJ, peace isn't what they found at the end of feeling, it's what they became when they finally learned how to feel everything and still stay whole. At some point, the Sigma INFJ stops trying to explain who they are, because peace speaks louder than words ever could. They've learned that the quiet inside them isn't emptiness, it's alignment. It's the reward for all the years they spent feeling everything too deeply, overthinking every moment, and trying to fit into a world that didn't value depth. Their peace is the final evolution of emotional intelligence, the proof that you can be both soft and strong, sensitive and unshakable, feeling everything yet needing nothing from anyone to stay centered. They no longer chase understanding, approval, or validation. They simply are. Every lesson, every heartbreak, every silent observation has shaped them into someone who doesn't seek meaning in noise anymore. They embody it in calm, because once you learn to find peace inside the storm loses all power over you. If this resonated with your own quiet strength, if you've ever felt the world too deeply and learned to find stillness through it, then you understand what it means to be a Sigma INFJ. Subscribe to Brainy 1 for more explorations into the INFJ and Sigma mind, where silence becomes strength and peace becomes purpose. And tell me in the comments, what's one thing your peace has taught you about yourself?